Hi, I am Brownell Landrum, and today my guest is Dr. Bruce Kaloski, an internationally noted clinical hypnotherapist with more than 40 years of experience. He is widely recognized as one of the foremost trainers, educators, and practitioners in the field of hypnotherapy and counts internationally known celebrities from stage, screen, and sports among his students and clientele. Bruce is co-founder and past president of the American Board of Hypnotherapy and founded and directed the Center for Clinical Hypnotherapy, building it into the nation's largest network of private hypnotherapy clinics. He is the author of 2 best-selling books and the creator of the Psych Yourself Smoke Free with Hypnosis method. Today he's going to tell us how his method helps people kick the habit. Welcome, Dr. Kaloski. Would you please tell our viewers how your Psych Yourself Smoke Free hypnosis method works for people wanting to quit smoking?
Thanks for having me, Brownell. The guiding principle behind hypnosis, for whatever we're using it for, is that it allows us to bypass the conscious part of the mind and communicate directly with the subconscious mind, which is where our habits, behaviors, belief systems, attitudes are formed. And it is very much a habit. You see, the mind is a lot like a computer. Just as you can program a computer, so can you program the mind. But there's one big difference. The mind can choose to accept or reject the program. Naturally, we want it to accept it. So in order to help it along the way, I incorporate something called guided imagery. Guided imagery is based on a very powerful premise. Simply stated, the premise is that what the mind can conceive and believe, it can also achieve. Or before anything can be done physically, you have to do it mentally. Or the human central nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real or a vividly imagined experience. Reacts the same in either way.
Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
Let's say you go to the movies, you watch TV, and you see a movie with a little boy and his dog. And that dog is that little boy's faithful companion. They are inseparable. They go everywhere together. They do everything together. But tragically, the dog dies at the end of the movie. Little boy starts crying. His parents are crying. Even the mailman is bawling his eyes out. What do?
I cry.
Of course you do. I know I do. I'm not ashamed to admit it. What's everybody crying about? We all know that that doggy didn't really die. We know that after filming, that dog went home and got into his limousine, went home and had his dinner. It's a movie. It's pure illusion. It's total delusion. But for a moment, we allow it to be real. Matter of fact, we react as if it were real. So you see, a psychological or thought process results in a physical reaction, tears. Both responses, think about this, both responses occurred in the absence of critical, analytical, or reflective thought. So unreality became reality. Why? Because you allowed it to happen. In other words, well, the mind conceives, the body tends to achieve. Now, the device used is the human imagination. So we can apply those very same principles to cigarettes. With hypnosis, we can do things like have a person see, picture, imagine, experience, actually feel themselves free from the want, the need, the desire, or the urge for a cigarette. Saying no to them easily and naturally. Feeling absolutely marvelous about doing it. Feeling the feeling of being in control. Them in control, not some 50-cent stick of dried out, chopped up leaves that some machine wrapped in paper pushing their button. And the best way to take that control back is to change the attitude that they have towards the cigarettes. So all of a sudden, they're not important to them anymore. All of a sudden, they can take them or they can leave them. But they're just as soon leave them. So what we're doing here, what we're doing is we're actually changing the desire for the cigarettes into a stronger desire for whatever they're going to get out of being a non-smoker. Kind of redirecting all that energy. It's a very positive approach. See, there are no pills, no patches, no gums, no aversion therapy. In other words, I don't make the cigarettes taste bad to them. I don't tell them how bad how bad the cigarettes are for them. They already know that. I don't even say they can't have them. But I do, however, say that they won't want them. There's a big difference. Big difference between can't have versus don't want. One's totally negative, the other one's totally positive.
That's amazing. What do you say to a client who says they don't have any willpower?
Take a look at willpower. See, what willpower means is that you have to deprive yourself of something that you want. Nobody likes to do that. I know I don't. I'm sure you don't either. You don't have to. Because if they don't want the cigarette in the first place, how can they possibly feel deprived of something that they don't want? They can't. That's a contradiction in terms.
Makes sense. But isn't nicotine an addictive substance? I mean, isn't that why it's hard for people to quit?
In my considered opinion, based on almost a half century of experience in helping tens of thousands of people become ex-smokers, cigarette smoking is primarily an habituation with only some addictive overtones in a minority of people. Now, if I had to place a percentage on this, I would say that in most people, cigarette smoking is about 80% psychological and 20% physiological. Of course, those percentages are going to vary from individual to individual. Some more, some less. But to put cigarettes in the same category as hard drugs, that's a gross mistake. And it's a great disservice to those who are thinking about quitting because it gives them an excuse to fail. Being hooked on cigarettes is definitely not the same as being hooked on hard drugs. I've helped thousands of smokers kick the habit with surprisingly little or absolutely no discomfort. Now, often, these were the very same people who had tried to give up the weed using patches, gums, that old standby white knuckle willpower. They found themselves climbing the wall, as the saying goes. See, I honestly believe that it is a very positive approach that allows the overwhelming majority of people who go through the program to quit smoking without suffering those horrible physical withdrawal symptoms that they once might have suffered when they tried to quit on their own, or they thought they were going to.
Can you kind of give us an example of how this worked with a specific client?
Years ago, I had a client who swore to me that she was hopelessly addicted to cigarettes. She tried quitting dozens of times on her own. A few days was the longest that she ever made it. But she also told me in conversation that she recently bought a Cadillac and she wouldn't allow herself to smoke in that Cadillac. She then told me about how she had driven the car to Las Vegas. And from here, it's about a 4.5-hour drive. And she hadn't once smoked. She didn't so much as think about a cigarette, didn't miss them in the slightest during the trip. So I said, oh, let's think about this. I pointed out the incongruity of that statement. She was, in effect, saying that she was addicted to cigarettes, except when she was in a Cadillac. Now, that's impossible, because if you're truly addicted in the clinical sense of the word, then you're addicted 24 hours a day, Cadillac or not. So, worked with her. She telephoned me several months after her session to tell me that she hadn't smoked since then. She felt absolutely marvelous, and she was surprised and amazed at how easy and painless it was.
Make it sound so amazing. And it really, that story brings the point home, doesn't it? On that point, first of all, I want to say thank you for joining us today. It's been quite an education. And if anyone out there is interested in his Psych Yourself Smoke-Free system of quitting smoking through hypnotherapy, you can find his information at the bottom of the screen. Thanks so much, Bruce.
Well, thanks for having me here today, Brownell, and I want to thank all the viewers out there.